Welcome back, everyone, and welcome in. This is going to be a video version of a one of the written Substack posts I did earlier this week, but kind of getting in more to my thoughts on it. And it was called Dreaming of Tuesday. And Dreaming of Tuesday is a reference to the off year elections that will occur as I'm recording this on November 4th, 2025. And it is going to be the Virginia and New Jersey gubernatorial elections, the New York City mayoral election, and a Georgia Public Service Commission election. There are two Public Service Commission seats up in Georgia, so we will talk about them. Now, obviously, this is not a normal time for elections. Most people would think, but some states hold their gubernatorial elections in an off year, and some cities hold their mayoral races in off years so that they get the proper attention that those races are accorded. So Virginia and New Jersey hold their gubernatorial elections in the year following the presidential elections, and the states of Mississippi, Kentucky, and Louisiana hold their gubernatorial elections in the year preceding a midterm. New York always holds their mayoral election in the year after a presidential election. So let's get into the particulars of each race. And we're going to start in the Commonwealth of Virginia. In 2021, Glenn Youngkin was elected governor and brought in a Republican ticket with him in the constitutional offices. They captured the lieutenant governor's office and the attorney general's office, flipping all of those seats from Democratic to Republican. And in Virginia, the governor cannot run for a second consecutive term. It is the only state in the country with that prohibition on governors. So Glenn Youngkin cannot run for a second consecutive term. He could sit out 4 years and run for governor again, but a lot of people think he's probably going to run for United States Senate or President of the United States in his political future. Youngkin continues to have relatively high approval ratings. They're in the 50s and would probably be a favorite to win re-election could he constitutionally run for a second term, although it would be a very difficult election, and we'll get into why in just a moment. But he would be a favorite to win re-election, and the race would probably be a lot closer than it is currently. So let's talk about the Republican nominee. The Republican nominee is the current Lieutenant Governor Winsome Earl Sears, and the Lieutenant Governor is an African American woman. She is the first African American woman to hold that post, and would be the first African American woman anywhere in the United States to be elected governor were she victorious. And she would be the second African American governor in the state of Virginia, the first being Douglas Wilder, who was elected back in the 90s. Winsome Earl Sears ran a very lackluster campaign. She has not generated a lot of excitement. There's infighting with her lieutenant governor nominee. She is very socially conservative. She is opposed to gay marriage. The lieutenant governor nominee is a gay man. In Virginia, they run separate races, and it's been a very awkward campaign for those two. She's also had to deal with the fact on the Republican side that Donald Trump has not endorsed her campaign. and that's probably going to depress Republican turnout in the southern part of the state. She's also going to have to deal with another factor. She's not going to hit the numbers that Glenn Youngkin had in Northern Virginia that she would need to be victorious because of Donald Trump's assault on the federal workforce. So that's information about the Republican nominee. Now let's get to the Democratic nominee. The Democratic nominee is former United States Representative Abigail Spanberg. Um, Abigail Spanberg served in the United States House of Representatives from 2019 till 2025. In 2018, she defeated an incumbent Republican, the same incumbent Republican who had defeated Eric Cantor in the 2014 primary and had served up until that point. She was one of the victories that night that signaled Democrats were going to have a really tremendous election night victory at hand. So that is the race there. Spanberger built a bipartisan record while she was in the House, was often rated as one of the most effective members of Congress and one of the most bipartisan members of Congress, and got legislation signed by both Trump and Biden while she was in office in the House. And she left the House earlier this year to run for governor, and her seat was held by the Democrats. Spanberger's path to victory lies from Richmond to the northern Virginia suburbs of D.C. That's where her path to victory lies. She's going to rely heavily on the votes of Northern Virginia, like I said. She's also going to rely on federal workers, and she's also going to rely on people that view her opponent as too extreme. And I think that's probably a winning strategy. She's led the whole campaign. It would take a massive polling error for her to lose, and I believe she is the comfortable favorite to be the next governor of Virginia. Virginia also has some down ballot races for lieutenant governor and for attorney general. And I think even though those races are a little bit closer in the polls, that the Democrats will win those races. Their victories will not be as significant as Ms. Spanberger's, but they will be substantial. They will be close, but they will win. And I think in the Attorney General's race, even though the Democratic nominee has had a late-breaking scandal concerning some text messages that he sent years ago, that he will be victorious as well. It may be a point and a half, but I believe he will win. I mean, Virginia has a long early voting period, and he banked a lot of votes before the early voting period ended and the scandal broke. And I think that, especially considering Republicans' reaction to their own texting scandals as of late, Democrats are not going to care one bit. It's tough to say, but they're not. And personally, if I was in Virginia, I'd vote the Democratic ticket. Sorry, not sorry. On the New Jersey, Donald Trump made historic gains in New Jersey in 2024. It was a lot closer than people expected. Jack Ciattarelli, who is the Republican nominee for governor there. Ran in 2021 and got a lot closer than people were expecting. Um, but I think that the Democrats are going to win. Mikey Sherrills ran a really good campaign. It'll be closer than Virginia, but I think Mikey Sherrill's going to be fine. I think it's a Virginia often follows. I'm sorry, New Jersey often follows Virginia in these races. In the fact that they elect a president of the a governor of the opposite party than the president. So we'll see that factored in, and obviously Donald Trump's in the White House, so Democrats should be favored in these races. Only twice in the past 40 years has New Jersey elected a governor of the same party as the president, and that was in 2021 and 1985. And like I said, in 2021, it was a lot closer than it usually was. So these races tend to buck against the incumbent presidential party. And the partisan lean of Virginia, I think, is going to return to being heavily Democratic. Plus, you have Democrats eager to vote and send a message to Washington. So, I think this is an easy one to call. I think Mikey Sherrill is going to win. On to the New York mayoral race. In June, Zohran Mamdani shocked the political world when he won the Democratic nomination for New York mayoral race. And he defeated former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, who was trying to revive his political career. And Cuomo, of course, resigned in disgrace and as governor over his handling of COVID. He resigned the office over many things, like I said, but his handling of COVID was chief among them. And his sexual harassment allegations are another reason, too. So, yeah, he's not going to, in my opinion, stage a political comeback. New York's quirky election laws allow you to run on multiple party lines in the election. That's how Cuomo is running despite losing the Democratic nomination. Mamdani has led in most of the polls, is beginning to inch up to 50% in some poll. There's a Republican nominee, Curtis Sliwa, and he is a very uniquely New York character and is a true believer in his campaign. There have been many attempts by billionaires because of Mr. Mamdani's views about the wealthy to get him to drop out of the race and, in my opinion, bribe Curtis Sliwa to drop out, and he has flatly refused. And I've always thought it is a foolish path to get Republicans to support Andrew Cuomo. Andrew Cuomo was not a particular favorite of Republicans when he was governor of New York, and it's a cynical ploy by them to avoid Mamdani. And I think that it's the best political ammunition that Mamdani's ever received, is basically Donald Trump quietly endorsing Andrew Cuomo for mayor. He's going to be Donald Trump's puppet. Needless to remember, Andrew Cuomo faces the prospect of federal indictment, and if he becomes mayor, he will be under that threat, and Donald Trump could use that threat to exert extreme political pressure on Andrew Cuomo. So there's that. I think that luckily Andrew Cuomo's political career on Monday night will come to an inglorious end, and he will wilt himself back to wherever he lives. He hasn't lived in New York City prior to this election, and will sulk away and just be an oddity of politics. He'll be a disgraced former governor who no one really cares about, and it will show his vanity. In Georgia, Georgia's got a Public Service Commission election. Public Service Commissions regulate utilities, they regulate power. Georgia has two Public Service Commission races up. These are statewide elections, even though the members of the Public Service Commission represent a particular district. And the Democratic nominees are Peter Hubbard and Elise Johnson, and they are both favored to win. This is going to be a very low turnout election, and so far, early voting tends to favor Democrats. And Democrats have staged an impressive get out the vote campaign. And Republicans have really been asleep at the wheel in this campaign. There's been really not a lot of promotion of this race at all. It's flown under the radar, especially nationally, which is unusual for an election in a swing state, as Georgia is. And I think Democrats have an incredible opportunity to win these two races. I believe Democrats will win both of these races. In fact, I believe they're going to win them by a quite sizable margin. So, my prediction on Tuesday night is for a blue wave to sweep across the map, with the Democrats winning back the constitutional offices in Virginia, holding on in New Jersey, recapturing City Hall in New York, and in Georgia, picking up two Public Service Commission seats. So there's my predictions for Tuesday night. I've got several interviews coming up this week. I have got John Northup, who is running for Alabama Public Service Commission, coming up on Monday. I have a very special guest on Tuesday in Tabitha Eisner, who is the vice chair of the Alabama Democratic Party on Tuesday. And on Friday, Chad Chigmartin, who is running for Alabama governor. And I thank all of them for agreeing to appear, and we will see them then. So, a action-packed week. You will see my beautiful face many times this week on this Substack or YouTube or wherever you find this fine program. Until next time, I'll see you all then. And we're all dreaming about Tuesday.